All right, we're going to be solving the law of sine proportions. So we're going to look at solving for a side and an angle in this, but we're not going to use triangles at all. We are just simply going to do the logistics and the algebra of solving a proportion with sine in it. So we're going to go to number one, and then we're going to scoot down to number two. We're going to look at problem A for each one of those. And all we're going to be doing is solving each equation for B, and in the other one, solving each equation for X. So let's go ahead and get started. It is a proportion, and because it is a proportion, we are going to do the whole idea of cross multiply and divide. That's how I like to approach that. So fraction equals to a fraction. So all we really have to do is say, well, I have 9 times the sine of 20 equals to B times the sine of 75. So B times the sine of 75. When we do that, we're looking for B. So since we're looking for B, we want to isolate it. We are going to divide by the sine of 75 on both sides. I'm going to divide that out because sine of 75 and sine of 75 are exactly the same. B comes out, and all we are going to do is come over to Desmos. Now, remember, the first thing we need to do is come over to the settings, which is this wrench here. We click on it. We need to make sure that we are in degree mode. Degree mode is right here. I'm going to click on degree mode. And then I come over and I just type in 9 and then sine of 20. And then I'm going to divide that out by sine of 75. So 75 right here. I'm going to do that, and I get looking at 3.186. Let's go with 3.19. So B equals 3.19. It is simple as that, just doing a proportion, cross multiplying, and divided, especially when we're just looking for these values that do not have sine in them, like in the case of B. Now, we scroll down, and we're going to get a little bit more complicated. This is probably the harder of the two, but the setup is exactly the same. It is a proportion, meaning we have a fraction equal to another fraction, and that just shows us we're going to cross multiply. So I'm going to say 5.4 times sine of 116, okay, sine of 116 equals to 8.3 times sine of x. Okay, so 8.3 times sine of x, and we are going to divide by 8.3. So divide by 8.3. This is going to cross out. Those 8.3s are going to cross out, and we are left with sine of x equals to 5.4 sine of 116 all over 8.3. Now, what I traditionally do is at this point, I come over and I type that piece in. And we are going to say 5.4 times sine of 116. And then I'm going to divide that entire fraction, or that entire piece, by 8.3. That is going to give me 0.847. So let's go, 0.5847. So let's go 0.585. How about we do that? So this is 0.585 equals to sine of x. Now, we haven't solved this problem yet, okay? And you have to remember, we're solving for x, which is an angle in this ratio. So if you remember that, we have to use the inverse. So this one involves that extra step of saying, okay, if I'm going to solve for x, I need to find sine inverse of 0.585, and that will equal to the value of x, or our angle. So once again, go to the wrench. We make sure we're back in degrees, and we are because we started there. Let's go sine inverse. And then we're going to put in 0.585, and it gives us an angle of about 35.8 degrees. So x equals 35.8 degrees. And that's how we solve a proportion looking for a missing side with the law of sine. For B, that's a missing side. And then how do we use the law of sine or proportion and solve an angle using a proportion?